Welcome to this predicted paper from onmaths. This paper represents the best guess for the upcoming exams. Please use this paper in addition to your other revision. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our onmaths site. Onmaths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions, and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing. So we need to first of all understand what a cube number is. So a cube number is the answer to when you get three integers or whole numbers and we multiply them by themselves three times. So 1 times 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 2 times 2 is 8, 3 times 3 times 3 is 27, 4 times 4 times 4 is 64, and 5 times 5 times 5 is 125. So 1, 8, 27, 64, 125 are all cube numbers, and it goes on forever. And this question's asked us to find all the odd, or an odd, cube number that is smaller than 100. So it has to be odd, so that gets rid of the 8 and the 64. And it has to be smaller than 100, so that gets rid of the 125. So I can either write down 1 would be a fine answer, or 27. I'm going to go for 1. For us to create the largest number, we need to pick the biggest digits for the start of the number. So the biggest digit is 7, then 6, then 4, then 3. But the question says it wants the largest even number, so we need to just swap the last two around to make sure that it is even. So our answer is 7,634. So we can draw out our place value grid to help us out with this question. We've got thousands, hundreds, tens and units. So we'll need another one there. So thousands go here, hundreds here, tens here, and then units here. So this says 2,000, so a 2 will go in the thousands column, 30, so that'll be a 3 there, and 2. So we need to fill in a 0 here to keep that 2 as 2,000, otherwise that would collapse and it'd become 232. So the answer is 2032. So we can either use the calculator to work out what 1.2 cubed is, or we can do 1.2 times 1.2 times 1.2. Now if you want to use the calculator to go straight there, you're going to press or type in 1.2, and then normally there's a button that looks like this, X with a little 3, okay, and that will give you the answer. Or if you're not sure how to do that, you can times it by itself 3 times and you get the answer 1.728. I'm going to start just by writing down the number. And we're asked to round this to 3 significant figures, and that basically what that means is starting from the left hand side, it's 3 numbers that we want. So 1, 2, 3. And we're going to do our line after that third number. And you start counting the first non-zero digit. So the first digit there was 2, so we started counting. Now all the numbers to the left, or sorry, to the right, so these numbers here, will all turn to 0. But before that happens, we look at this number. Now this number, if it's 5 or more, it moves this number up by 1. If it's less than 5, that number stays the same. Now it is 5 or more, because it is 5. So it's not going to be 207, it's going to be 208. Now, a common mistake is that students write down 208. No, all the numbers to the right of that line turn to 0. So it would be 0, 0, 0. So it would be 20,000 or 208,000 exactly. So what we need to do is find out where the graph is at its highest, and so it's highest here. And so if we go down from there, we find out what year it is. Well, these years seem to be going up in 1, so that's 1950, 1951, 1952. So the answer would be 1952. The first piece of information I'm going to focus on is the fact Denver gets 8/19. Denver gets 8/19, that means that Engel and Fido together must get 11/19 because they have to add up to 1. So we're only looking at 11/19. I'm going to focus on the ratio next of angle to Fido. So it's 9 to 5. And let's have a look and see, well, first of all, how many parts there are altogether. So 9 plus 5, which is 14 parts. So there are 14 parts in total, and the share that they get is 11/19. So what I'm going to do is find out what fraction one of those parts is worth by dividing 11/19 by 14. So each part is worth, and I'm just going to keep this into my calculator, 0.041 blah blah blah. And we're asked to find Fido's share. Well, Fido has 5 parts. So Fido has 5 parts, each of them worth 0.041 blah blah blah. I've kept it in my calculator to keep the accuracy. And when I do that, I get 0.206 blah blah blah. Now we're asked to work it out as a percent, so I'm just going to times that by 100. So we have 20.676 blah 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 percent, and it wants it rounded to the nearest percent, so that would be 20%. Or actually, it would be 21%, because this would round it up, so 21%. To answer this question, we need to cut this shape into 2 shapes. So we're going to draw a line across here, and we're going to cut it into a rectangle and a triangle. Now we need to first of all label the parts of the triangle. So the length or the width of the triangle, the base, will be the same as the base at the bottom, so that will be 20 centimeters. And we need to find the height, which is this length here, which is 90 degrees to the base. And to find that, what we can look at is the fact that the total height of the whole thing is 13, and the height of the bit we don't want is 11. So what's left over? Well, 2 centimeters will be left over, so the height will be 2 centimeters of the triangle. So let's work out the area of the triangle first. Which is going to be half times base times height. Half times the base, which is 20, times the height, which is 2, will just give us 20. Now let's work out the area of the rectangle. And that's just going to be the width times the length. Width is 20. The length is 11, so that would be 220. Then to work out the total area of the whole thing, we're just going to add those together. So 220 plus 20, which is 240. The units are all in centimeters, and so the area units will be centimeters squared. So what we do is we notice that to get this 10, we add the 3 and the 7. To get this 17, we add the 7 and the 10. And to get this 27, we add the 10 and the 17. Whenever we have this kind of sequence, it's called a Fibonacci sequence. You essentially add the previous 2 terms to get to the next term. And so what we need to do is just simply add the 17 and the 27. When you do that, you get 44. So our next term is 44. So we have an original amount, and this represents 100% of the original amount. The new price, or new amount, represents 113% because it has said that it has gone up by 13%. So it has increased by 13%. And as a value, that increase is £1,287. So it's 13% of the original. It's gone up 13% of the original price. So what we're going to do is we're going to work out what 1% of the price increase is. Instead of 13%, we're going to work out what 1% is. And we're going to do that by dividing the amount by 13, and we get 99. So 1% represents £99, so 1% of the original represents £99. But the new amount is 113%. So we need to times the £99 by 113, which gives us £11,187. So the picture is now worth £11,187. To find the area of a circle, we use the formula area equals pi r squared, or pi times r squared. We're given that the fact that the radius is 12, so it'd be pi times 144. Type that into the calculator and you get 452.389 blah blah blah. And the question asks us to round it to 2 decimal places, so that would be 452.39. The midpoint of a line is the halfway point, and we can see that it is roughly here. And there's a couple of different ways we can work this out. Either we can just look at the graph and just kind of try and work it out that way, or we can use the equation. Now the equation is, to find the midpoint for the x, what we do is we add the two x coordinates together and we divide by 2. And so the x coordinate of A is 3, and at B it's 0. It's going to be 3 plus 0 divided by 2, which is 1.5, 1.5. So we know that's going to be 1.5. I'm going to do the y a slightly different way, maybe. We've gone from -3 to 2, and so we can just look at the fact that the halfway point here is going to be at -0.5. That's going to be -0.5. If you didn't really see that, we can use the equation. The equation's simple because it's just y1 plus y2 divided by 2. And so the y coordinates are 2 and -3. 2 plus -3 is just going to be -1. -1 over 2 is just going to be -0.5. So water to orange is 3 to 2. Ooh. We've got water here and we've got orange squash here. And we're told that we've got 80 centilitres of orange. So we've got 80 here. And we're asked to find the amount of water required. So what we do is we figure out how to get from 2 to 80. Well, we're going to times by 40. And if I times that side of the ratio by 40, I've got to times the left-hand side by 40 as well. 3 times 40 is 120. So I'm going to need 120 centilitres of water. Whenever you have angles on parallel lines, you always draw out the letter in which they create. So we could have a situation here where the two angles create a Z like this, and those will be alternate. They could create a Z like this. That would also be alternate. They could create a C, which looks like that, and that would be interior, co-interior, or allied, depending on your preference. There could be a backward C. Again, that would be interior, co-interior, allied. Or they could look like an F. Now, there are several Fs, about 4 Fs that they could look like. There's the F like this. There's the same thing but backwards. And there's the upside down versions. So you have the ones that go out this way. And the actual one we've got here, if I don't move that, the actual one we've got here, which goes inwards like that. Seem to be moving things. Let's try that again. So with all the F angles, we know that they're corresponding. Now, how do we figure that out? How do we remember that? There's loads of different ways. The way I remember it is I remember F ponding for corresponding. I remember alternate for alternate, And then either co-interior, interior, allied, I just remember as the other one. So interior, I just remember as the kind of C one, the other one. And so with this question, we've got x is equal to 73 because of f angles, and I just remember cor f bonding. So the word I write down isn't obviously cor f bonding, but cor s bonding. And it sounds silly, but I've remembered that for all my years teaching. I used to get corresponding and alternate mixed up. That was the way I remembered it, and I've never had an issue with corresponding alternate angles again. So whatever method you have, just to help you remember which one to pick, obviously have a method in advance of the exam, and then when this question comes up, you'll be more than happy to pick the right one. The area of a trapezium is found using the formula area equals half a plus b times h. Now a plus b are quite easy to find because they are the parallel sides in the trapezium, which are these two. It doesn't matter which way around we label them. I'm going to say a is the right hand one and b is, or left hand one, and b is this right hand one. Then h always hits a and b at 90 degrees. So if we have a look at some of these lengths, this length at the top here is touching the A and B at an acute angle for A and an obtuse angle for B, so that is definitely not the height. This length here, same thing. It's hitting the A at an acute angle and B at an obtuse angle, so that is not the height. The height is actually going to be this length here, because you can see it hits both A and B at 90 degrees. So let's fill this into our formula. So it's going to be half times A, which is 8.7, plus B, which is 5.3, and then times that by the height, which is 2.4. That's going to be half times 14 times 2.4. That's going to be 7 times 2.4. And then that will be 16.8. All the units in the diagram are in centimetres, so our area will be centimetres squared. Here we're given two angles on parallel lines, and the parallel lines are here and here. And if we draw the line that they are on, then it creates a little C shape. Now, whenever we were dealing with C angles, we call them either interior, co-interior, or allied angles. And what we know about interior angles, I'm just going to call them, is that they add up to 180. So we can get that 20x, and we can add to the 40x, and we know that that equals 180 degrees. And I need to make sure I write down the reason, because they're interior angles. So here I'm going to be solving this algebra. I'm just getting my tramlines in. 20x plus 40x is 60x, equals 180. And we're going to divide both sides by 60 to get x on its own. So we can solve it. And we've got x equals 3. So the value of x will be 3. So we're going to write an expression for the amount of people on the first bus. So they've started with x passengers and they've gone to 11 bus stops with x passengers. So altogether that is 12x. So we're going to have the first bus. And so we've got 12x. And then on the last bus stop, 19 passengers get on, so plus 19. Now for the second bus, well, we start with x, and a further 5x come on, because 5 bus stops with x passengers, so that's 6x altogether. And then 79 get on. And it says the first bus finishes with less passengers than the first. So the first bus finishes with less, and the way we show that is with this inequality here. Now all we need to do is solve that inequality, and we've got x on both sides, so we look at the x's. We've got 12x and 6x, so we always take away the smaller amount, so we're going to take away the 6x both sides. And next thing we're going to do is take away the 19 from both sides. And so It's meant to be 60. Got ahead of myself. And the last thing we do is divide by 6 both sides. And so we've got x is less than 10. Now, it says here, assuming no passengers got off either bus, what is the largest value for x? Now, it is tempting to write down 10, but it says x has to be less than 10. So the biggest number we can get that is less than 10 is 9. So we're going to start just by writing this out. So m equals 7 brackets x minus 10. And we're going to put our solving lines in. I'm going to start by expanding the brackets. And we don't need to. We could divide both sides by 7, but I think this is a bit easier. And we're going to subtract, or we're going to add 70 to both sides. So we're trying to get x as the subject. So we're trying to get x on its own. And we're next going to divide both sides by 7. So we have m plus 70, all of that over 7 equals x. So x equals m plus 70 over 7. So when we say y is directly proportional to x, what we mean is whenever x doubles, y will double. Whenever x halves, y will halve. Now, we've got this proportionality sign here. And to make that an equals, all we need to do is introduce a k constant to the right-hand side. So it's y equals something times x. Now, to find out what that something is, to find out what that constant is, what we're going to do is feed in the value of y and the value of x that we have. So we're going to feed those in. So y is 55.3 and x is 7. So it would be 7k. And we're just going to put our lines in and solve this. So it's going to be divide by 7 both sides. And 55.3 divided by 7 is 7.9. And that's what k is. So we're going to rewrite this equation here, this formula here, y equals 7.9x. And that is actually our answer. So when you read this question, the question's basically asking you to find the bearing of O from B. So the lifeboat is at B. So I'm going to draw a north line here, and to find a bearing you start from the north line and you keep going clockwise. So we're going to look for this angle here. Now this angle which is given to us in the question and this angle here, which I'm just going to call x, are going to be equal. So x is going to equal 135 degrees, and the reason for that is we've basically got, and I'm just going to draw or extend the north line down, because we've basically got we have a set of parallel lines here, and we have a set of z angles, which we know is alternate angles. So the reason for that is it's alternate angles. And always show the reasons to the examiner. Okay, and so to find out what the bearing is, so the bearing of O from B, it's just going to be 360 take away 135, and the reason for that is angles on a point. We've run out of space. Okay, so we're going to do 360 take away 135, which is 225, and so our answer is 225. So if 2 people liked action but not comedy films, and in total 11 liked action films, therefore there's going to be 9 who also liked comedy, because these 2 have to add up to 11. Now if there's 9 who liked action and comedy, and 16 who liked comedy in total, if we do 16 take away the 9, that leaves 7. So 7 only liked comedy. It says there's 23 people altogether, so what we're going to do is take away the people who liked action, the people who liked both, and the people who liked comedy. Take all those away from 23, and we're left with 5. So the answers are going to be 9, 7, and 5. So we're going to write out the question again, just to give us a bit more space. And we're going to put in our tramline so we can solve it. Now we're going to solve this in exactly the same way as if it was an equation with an equals in the middle. One slight difference though is if you times or divide by a negative, you've got to flip the sign, but hopefully we won't do that. Now the rule when you've got an x's on both sides is you get rid of the smaller amount. So we're going to get rid of that 4x from both sides. We're going to take away 4x both sides. And so we're going to have 3x plus 8 is greater than 23. And then we're just going to solve this normally. So take away 8 both sides. And that will give us 3x is greater than 15. And then we're going to divide the 3 both sides. And that will be x is greater than 5. So to find the gradient, we need the formula or the equation in the form y equals mx plus c. And the m there will give us what the gradient is. So we're just going to be rearranging this equation. And so I'll get my lines in. So the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of the x's from the left hand side. And we can do that by adding 6x both sides. So we've got 6y equals, and I'm going to put the 6x first, just to match the y equals mx plus c. Right, the next thing I'm going to do is get rid of this 6, because we just want a y there. So we're going to divide by 6 both sides. So we've got y equals 1x plus 36. Now we shouldn't really write 1, but because we're looking for m, we're looking for the number before x, I've kind of left it in there to show that the gradient will be 1. The formula for an exterior angle for a regular polygon is 360 divided by the amount of sides. Now here we're given the fact that the exterior angle is 30 and we're looking for n, so we just need to rearrange the equation. We can times both sides by n. And then divide both sides by 30. And so we've got n equals 360 divided by 30. And when you do 360 divided by 30, we get the answer of 12. So it's a 12-sided shape. First thing I'm going to do is just draw the square out. And we know the length of it is 10x plus 10, but it is a square, so that's the same all the way around it. But we're also told that the perimeter is 440, so the perimeter is 440. So what we can do is we can work out the perimeter in algebra by multiplying 10x plus 10 by 4, or just adding up the 4 lengths that we've got. So we're going to do 4 times 10x plus 10. But we also know that that is going to be 440 because we're told in the question that the perimeter is 440. So put our lines in because we're going to solve, and we're just going to start by expanding the brackets, so that'll be 40x plus 40 equals 440. Then we're going to get rid of the plus 40 first, so take away 40 both sides. And so that'll be 40x equals 400. And then we get rid of the 40 before the x, so we divide both sides by 40. And we've got x equals 10. So our answer is 10. Okay, let's just do a quick sketch of the graph. And we've got coordinate c is at 213, so we're going to say that's roughly there. And that's c, and that's at 213. And then we've got d, which is at coordinates 8, 4. And we're just asked to find the length of the line segment, so this length here. Now what I can do is I can draw in a right angle triangle here, like so. And we've got the right angle there. And we actually know 2 of the lengths, so if it's 13 high for C and then 4 high for D, that means that this length here is going to be 9. The x coordinates are 2 to 8, and so that's a difference of 6. So, and we're looking for the last one. So with Pythagoras, we are going to label the sides. And so we've got A here, we've got B here, and then C has to be the one opposite the right angle. And we're just going to write out the formula, which is A squared plus B squared equals C squared. And A we've said is 9, and B we've said is 6. And so when you do that, you get, what, 117. Then we're going to just quickly solve it by square rooting both sides. And so we're going to square root 117, which is 10.816 blah blah blah. And it says it wants 2 decimal places, so our answer will be 10.82. So I'm going to write the equation out, the formula out. And we're asked to make y the subject, so I'm just going to get my lines in. And so what's stopping us from having y on its own? Well, this minus 1, how am I going to get rid of it? Add 1 both sides. So we've got x plus 1 equals 9y. What else do we have that stops y from being on its own? Well, this times 9 here. So we're going to do the opposite, the inverse, which is divide by 9 both sides. And to do that nicely, what we do is we just do it as a fraction. X plus 1 over 9 equals y. So therefore y is x plus 1 over 9. So we're asked to work out the average speed. So we've got to first of all remember the triangle. So average speed is total distance over total time. And we're told to find the average speed before stopping. So stopping is shown with a horizontal line on a distance time graph. So it's up to this point here. So the average speed will be the total distance, which would be 20, over the total time. So 9:30 to 10 will be 30 minutes, but since our units will be kilometers per hour, we need that in hours, which will be a half. And 20 divided by a half is going to be 40. So our answer is going to be 40 kilometers per hour. So we're going to first of all convert the 11 litres into millilitres. So we're going to do 11 times 1,000, which would be 11,000. Okay, so we're going to just draw a line, like a number line. And we're going to have the 11,000 in the middle. Now, what would be the next one down if we're looking at to the nearest 10 mil? So we're going to add a 10 mil on, which will be 11,010, and we're going to take the 10 mil away. So 11,000 take away 10 mil will be 10, 990. Now when we're looking at limits, with the upper and lower part of it, we are looking at halfway points. So halfway here and halfway here. So this halfway point will be 10,995, and the next one will be 11,005, and that's the halfway points. And so that is going to be our upper and lower bound. And we just need to say that V can be anything above the 10,995 and including that, and it can be anything below 11,005, but it can't include that, because if it did, if it was 11,005, it would have rounded up to 11,010. With this question, you've just got to know what the different functions look like. So with C and D, we've got quadratic functions. One's a positive quadratic, which is a U shape. One's a negative quadratic, which is a kind of upside down U shape or an N shape. And here we don't have that, so we can get rid of those in our thoughts straight away. A is a positive cubic, which goes up, then down, then up again. And B is a negative cubic, which goes down, up, and then down again. So this one here goes up, down, up again. That's going to be a positive cubic. So our answer is A. Y is inversely proportional to X means that Y is proportional to 1 over x. And I'm going to change that for an equal sign by timesing the right hand side by k. And k represents our constant. And we're told that when x is 5, y is 10.8. So I'm going to fill those in. I'm going to substitute those in to be able to find out what k is going to be. So it'll be k over 5. And we're going to be solving this. Let's get my lines in. And solve it, I just times by the bottom of the fraction. So times both sides by 5. And we're going to end up with 50.4 is equal to k. So k is 50.4. I'm going to rewrite this equation here, but we know what k is. It's 50.4. We're asked to find the value of x when y is 9. So we've got 9 equals 50.4 over x. And whenever in this situation here where we've got the unknown at the bottom of a fraction and we've got it equal to a number, what you can do here is actually just swap these around. Effectively, we're timesing both sides by x and dividing both sides by 9. But it does really help us out here because it just says that x is equal to 50.4 over 9. We can just do that on the calculator and it gives us 5.6. First thing I'm going to do is add these column vectors. So we're going to add the tops first. And then we're going to add the bottoms. So it's plus minus 14. And so at the top it would be minus 4. And 11 take away 14 is minus 3. Then I'm going to pick a point on my shape. And the the top one tells us how far right we're going. So we know we're going 4 to the left because it's obviously a negative. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. The bottom one tells us how far up we're going. Well, it's going to be down because it's a minus 3. So 1, 2, 3. And we can do that for each of the other points. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. And when we've done that, we can join them all up with straight lines. And label the new shape B. So this question will probably need a Venn diagram just to make it a bit easier. So I'm going to draw a Venn diagram. You don't need to. If you can work out how to do this question without, you can do. But I think this is a really tricky question to do without a Venn diagram. So it says that they picked 2 activities. It was either painting, which I'll put as a P, and sport, which I'll put as an S. So let's start filling in the information it gives us. So 11 picked painting and sport. So that will go in the middle because that is painting and sport. And 11 didn't pick painting or sport, so they can sit on the outside. Now here's the problem. It says twice as many people picked sport than painting as one of their activities. So it's saying that the total number in, and let's just show it, the total number in the sport circle is twice as big as the total number in the painting circle. Now, what we can do is we can say, okay, so if the painting we label as X, then the sport will be 2x. But if you look, we've already got a number already in the sport, that 11 there. So in algebra, this will be 2x, take away the 11 that we already know about. And the painting is the same. We know the whole thing is x. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take away the bit we know there, which is the 11, and it will be x minus 11. Now we know that there are 66 students in total. So what we can do now is add up all of the parts of the Venn diagram and get it equal to 66. So x minus 11 plus 11 plus 2x minus 11 plus 11, and all of that will equal 66. This is going to be some solving, so we're just going to put our lines in. Now here we've got x plus 2x, which is 3x. And if I put my tool right, there we are. And we've got minus 11 plus 11, minus 11 plus 11. Well, those just cancel out. So we're left with just the 3x equals, and then 66. I'm going to divide that 3 both sides. So we've got x equals 22. So if we go back to our Venn diagram now, we can fill in the blanks. So instead of x minus 11 there, we've got 22 take away 11, which is just 11. Instead of 2x minus 11 there, we've got 22 times 2, which is 44, take away 11, which will be 33. So it says, find the amount that picked sport and not painting, which is this 33 here. So this says, find the probability of A or B. Now A or B means it can be in A, it can be in B, or it can be in both. So we add the 5, the 3 and the 12 together, and that gives us 20, and put that over the total amount. So that is these 3 added together, which is 20, plus the one outside here, which is 30. 20 over 30 is the same as 2 over 3. There are 2 shapes we need to find the volume of. There's this cylinder here and this hemisphere here. So we might as well start with this cylinder. And the formula for the volume is pi times r squared times height. So it's the radius is 9, so 9 squared times the height, which is 30. And when we work that out, we get 7,634.070, blah, blah, blah. Next is the hemisphere. To find the volume of the hemisphere, well, the volume of a sphere is 4/3 times pi times r cubed. But because it's a hemisphere, we just times that by 1/2. So it's 1/2 times 4/3 times pi times r, which is the radius, which is 9 cubed. And that gives us 1,526.814, blah, blah, blah. And so the total volume is 7,634.070, blah, 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 plus the 1,526.814, blah, 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 which equals 9,160.884, blah, blah, blah. It says it wants it to 2 decimal places, so when we round that, we get 9,160.88. With these questions, it's normally easier to view these as 2 separate triangles. So we've got a small triangle here with 19 and 47. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move this out. And we've got a bigger triangle here. And we've got, well, we've got a bit of, we don't really know what any of the sides are just yet, but we can work them out. Okay, now we know that both of these triangles are similar, and the reason is they share an angle and the lengths at the bottom are parallel, so they will be similar, which means one's an enlargement of the other. And we are given some information in the question that the ratio of BC to DE is 1:6. So BC is this length here, and DE is this length here. So we're actually given the scale factor because we know that 1 times 6 is 6. So we know the scale factor is 6, and it's asking us to find length AD. And so the corresponding length to AD, which is this one here. So all we need to do is get that 47, times it by the scale factor, so times it by 6 to get to our value. So it's 282. To find the probability that James will read on both days, we start here and we just draw down the read path, and then we go down the read path again. So the outcome here will give us the probability that James will read and the read. And to work out what the total probability is, well, the first one says read on Saturday, so that would be 11 over 13. The second one is read on Sunday, so that would be 9 over 10. And the word and in probability means times. So we're going to do 11 times 9, which is 99, and 13 times 10, which is 130. So our answer will be 99 over 130. So what I'm going to do is work out how I get from my centre enlargement to each of the vertices on our shape. And so I'm going to pick the bottom left one first. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 jumps to the left. Now with a scale factor of a third, instead of 6 jumps to the left, it's going to be a third of that for our new image. So instead of 6 to the left, it's only going to be 2. So our new point will be here. And we're going to do the same to the top left one. This is going to take a bit of time, but that's fine. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So instead of 12 up, we're looking for our new one to be a third of that, which would be 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So it would be on the x-axis. And we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to the left. And again, instead of 6 to the left, it's going to be a third of that, which would be 2. So our new point will be here. And so if we draw in the new shape, let's make sure we try and do it as neat as possible. Then it will be this bit here. It says to label it B, so we'll put a B on it. The curved surface area of a cone is found through the formula pi r L. R is the radius of the circle at the bottom, which is this 3 here, and L is the slanted length, which is this one here. So it's like the height, but instead of being perpendicular to the base, it's just the slanted length down the side of the cone. And so using this formula, pi times 3 times 15 is going to be 141.371 blah blah blah, and 2 decimal places, that is 141.37. So we need to complete a unique version of this paper by going to our onmaths site. Onmaths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing.